purposes, great. Anything you're going to make money off. Now that obviously becomes a bit of an issue because we know that some of our materials are often translated into languages and then published in countries where copyright laws are variable, of putting it that way. But then you have to just be vigilant and try to make sure that if there is revenue that is being generated, that you get a reasonable share of it. When it comes to the creation of websites and all of that, I believe you have to deal respectfully with copyright, and I believe it's better to deal with individual copyright holders than it is with copyright collective, because the fees are way too high. In fact, I've often mused, and I was musing this yesterday at UBC, and it's amusing rather, and you may take it as a call to action, but I would say it is amusing. I've often wondered why people who believe in open access or people who believe in the Creative Commons haven't collectively gotten together and created a copyright collective for those that believe in open access and simply deposited their copyright there. I think to have a counter to one grand copyright would be much better, but one has to be careful these days of where one goes. But I actually think a counter collective would be an interesting idea to pursue.
I'm not sure if you saw it there, Dr. Pennicook, but there's a question posted by Lou. Could you briefly explain AU Press's relationship with UBC Press for your print books?
Books currently, to meet certain guidelines, we do a very minimum number of print. We want to move ultimately to print on demand. UBC is our distributor of our print materials. And that relationship has, I think, worked very well, and we very much appreciate their taking us on as an experiment. And I was at UBC yesterday, worked quite well.
You mentioned during your presentation about submitting materials to e-aggregators. Could you give us some examples of those?
Like, okay, what are the names of some of the big ones? Like eBerry, any of the I'm just you're in the library world, so there is an EBSCOhost, for example. That Project Muse, any of them that actually, and Synergies may well be a Canadian aggregator at some point. I know AirUD aggregates for the French language, and there's big science aggregators as well. And they actually pull together lots of e-product, a lot of e-product, and they mix up the for charge and the free stuff. And you can generally get the free stuff going to a university library, and most of them do allow access to the free materials. The free materials being stuff that is not PIN protected, but the libraries will pay for that material, and they pay for that material because it comes with cataloging records and a stable environment, and it works well.
Great, thank you for that. And I see there have been a few comments put up. I know Joan from Norquest mentioned that the book Imagining Head Smashed In is in their library both in print and as an e-book from eBrary. So I'm guessing eBrary is Oh, sorry, you did mention that one as one of the e-aggregators, so that's helpful. Thank you. If anyone else has a question or a comment, please don't be shy. Click on the microphone and let us know what you have in mind.
Fritz, I wouldn't mind adding briefly. The print sales do matter at the moment because a lot of libraries haven't moved as radically into digital environments, and sometimes to get your volume on the record, you should sell a print volume. And I find that generally people will buy both print and the e-version at the same time. Rarely will they only buy the e-version. And that's because there's still people within the information world that believe the best form of preservation is still hard copy in some form or other. And to me, hard copy could be microfilm, microfiche, but it's, in fact, until a few years ago, some institutions were preserving their digital materials on microfilm. That is the coding was actually ultimately said that was a more stable ultimate form. But that, I think we may have moved. It's been about 4 years since I've been out of the library world, and the library world moves faster than any world that I know.
Thank you. There's a couple questions up again. People are attending to text. Maureen asked, does the open access appeal to more academics? In physical terms, is AU Press receiving more manuscripts for consideration?
We receive a lot of manuscripts from very senior academics, and Rory's question is, why should academics publish in open access? They want to publish in open access because they want to be read and because they want to influence social policy. For example, Sarah Carter's book on the importance of being monogamous, which is a study of practices of marriage in southern Alberta at the turn of the century, let's say amongst the New American Mormon community and the Blackfoot. Both were polygamous. Both were dealt with entirely differently by government. It was really a study in what is marriage? How does state relate to marriage? How does people marginalize and deal with people through the enforcement of cultural norms? And what Sarah really, really wanted to do is influence the debate. And so people will gravitate, people who are serious about want to be read, will gravitate to an open access environment because we know statistically that you will be read by a much, much wider audience. And I think that's going to increase over time. So some people are reluctant to publish in open access because they don't believe it's peer-reviewed. It is peer-reviewed. That's a big thing they're worried about. It's the prestige of the publication. And if you get enough people who are leaders in their field to be part of open access, that whole thing will disappear. And as these people, and particularly academics who publish in open access, become increasingly influential and cited, as Terry Anderson, Mohammed, and people here are, you will find people switching to this because they want to have influence in a broader plane. There is an argument for quicker turnaround, but if you believe that you still have to go through the peer review process, you're still going to go through design. The only part that you really cut off is going to print and going through the traditional print process. So that's the only part you might cut off. Because ultimately, if you do go print and demand, I don't believe there's a single book that if it was offered in both form that you wouldn't ultimately have a print copy of, because somebody either has it in their home, they want to read it in a different format, they may use it in a different way. So I still think design matters. Now, even design of web-based materials. Now, what the internet has done, however, as in PubMed, you can get an article accepted. You can have it put using some of the new technology and the new softwares. You can get it through that whole process in a maybe